I claimed that there were two concepts which would bolster my argument that general relativity accords better with our experience than Newtonian gravity. The first was gravitational force. The second concept, which is absent in general relativity, the second concept is the concept of time. Now, nothing is more fundamental to our experience of the world than the temporality of that experience. We experience things in time. Now, what is the exact nature of our intimate experience of time? Now, is that a problem of language, philosophy, psychology, neuroscience, physics, or all of these? Now, such questions have been debated ever since, well, ever since we have records of people thinking about the nature of things, people have thought about the nature of time. And I'm not going to try to delve into that enormous subject. But what I want to do instead is appeal to something which could stand for our intimate experience of time, and that to take the place of our intimate experience of time, and that is children's experience of time, or at least what we know about children's experience of time, to stand for something which is more intimate, more innate, less learned than what we would say about time. So I went to a conference about time in which there were physicists and philosophers, neuroscientists, and a psychologist, an experimental psychologist called Teresa McCormack, who works at Queen's University, Belfast. And from her, I learnt these aspects of children's understanding of time. Now, any mistakes that I made here are entirely mine and not Teresa's, but this is what I learnt from her. Young children know that events have an order. They know that first it's bath time, then I brush my teeth, and then I go to bed. So they can order events in that way. They also learn, and they learn quite young, that events can be grouped into past events which are already completed, present events which are ongoing, and future events which are yet to occur. And they also learn about clocks and calendars, but they do that much later, and they find it difficult. So it's hard for children to learn about clocks and calendars. But they find the notions of ordering of events and the notions of past, present, and future easier to learn. Now, why do they find clock time and calendars more difficult? Why is that something of a struggle for them? Well, my claim is that that's because it requires a conceptual picture of things that are happening right now but are far away. So if you think about it, the notion of the date must mean that there's such a thing as today, the 5th of October this year, everywhere. The notion of the time, which is what your clocks and watches are measuring, requires a notion of a global moment of now. And that's something which children don't have in their day-to-day, everyday experiences. They just experience things locally to them. But in order to have this concept of time, as measured by clocks and calendars, you need to conceptualize the idea that there is such a thing as right now in Japan, and right now on the moon, and right now on Jupiter, and right now in Alpha Centauri. And Newtonian space-time accords with that idea, that there is such a thing as a global moment of now, that time ticks away at the same rate for everyone and everything, no matter what it is. So that you can stack up space at this moment, right now, and later on, space at the later time, and space at a later time. These three-dimensional slices of space can be stacked up, one on top of the other, into a full four-dimensional space-time. And that's the Newtonian picture of space and time. Space-time in general relativity is also four-dimensional, and in this four-dimensional space-time of general relativity, which, remember, is curved, which is what I've tried to draw here on the picture, there are events, such as an event of my birth, which I've drawn here, I trace out a world line in space-time as time passes for me. And finally, there's the event of my death. So that's my world line in space-time. And everything and everyone traces out their world lines in space-time. There's the world line of photon that's created at some supernova and is witnessed by me at a particular event on my world line. Here's someone else's world line and an event where we meet. And everything and everyone traces out their world line in the four-dimensional space-time of general relativity. And there is no such thing as a global moment of now. I drew in those slices just to guide your eyes, but in general relativity, there's no global moment of now. It doesn't exist. There's no way to there's no physical notion of simultaneous events simultaneous to me here, stretching across the whole universe. Such a thing doesn't exist. There is just space-time and world lines in it. So there's no global time in general relativity, no concept of a global moment of now. So this modern scientific view of time in GR accords better with our childlike inner space temporal concepts of the ordering of events local to us. Because a world line in space-time is ordered. The events on my world line are ordered. My birth comes before my death. But there's no way in general relativity to coordinate the events local to me with events globally in the universe. So general relativity, the picture of space-time, accords better with our intimate experience than the space-time of Newtonian physics. However, our inner space speaks to us of a dynamic passage of time, whereas the picture of the world that general relativity gives us is of a whole four-dimensional block. You see here I've got my birth and my death drawn on this picture of space-time. If that block picture of the world is right, then the events of the future are just as real as the events of the past, and they just all exist in this block in a timeless way. So there's some kind of tension here between our experience of the passage of time and the block universe picture that general relativity offers to us. Can this tension be relieved? And here I'm going to move into a more speculative area of physics that is under investigation by myself and my colleagues. A theory of space-time that I'm actively working on with my colleagues is that space-time only appears smooth and continuous to us at large scales, and that at small scales it's fundamentally atomic or granular. These scales are very, very small, so small that there are 10 to the 240 of these space-time grains or space-time atoms in the observable universe. And the proposal made by my colleague Raphael Sorkin of the Perimeter Institute in Canada is that the passage of time that we experience could be the coming into being or the birth of new atoms of space-time. Now, this is a speculative proposal. We don't know whether space-time is granular. So far, we haven't tested this theory properly. So we need to look at data and test our predictions in order to find out whether this is really the case. So inner space and outer space, in this sense, become intertwined. Our inner space speaks to us of this dynamical passage of time, but we need the phenomena of outer space in order to test such a theory. Both inner and outer space are necessary to our understanding of the universe. So let me end with this thought. Abdus Salam, who is the founder of the theoretical physics group at Imperial College where I work, said that scientific thought and its creation is the common and shared heritage of humankind. General relativity and the understanding of the world that it offers belong to everyone. And in this year of the 100th birthday of general relativity, you have come here to claim your inheritance. And I'll end there. Thank you.